Good evening. My name is John, and I've been researching near-death experiences for more than a few years now, mostly by interviewing hundreds of people who've had them. And if you check out this video, you can see my own personal near-death experience as well. Tonight, my guest is Tracy Durant. Tracy, welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much. So I had taken a Wellbutrin, and Wellbutrin is for anti-anxiety, and I forgot that I'd taken it in the morning. And I was having a meeting with a client, and I got back to my office, and I had three seizures. So on the third seizure, I left my body, which was it felt so freeing. And no, I didn't see any white light in front of me. I didn't see any tunnel. I went immediately and I crossed it. So the first thing that I saw was a field. And I remember seeing Jesus teaching some kids under a tree. I saw Buddha teaching some kids under a tree. Then I went to go and explore, and I saw all of the animals that we've mucked up, like dinosaurs and unicorns, actually exist. So even when you're killing an ant, they're coming through fast and furiously, and there's sufficient space for them. So then I was guided to the library, and the library it's huge, it's humongous. So what happened in the library was they took out my life review, and there was zero judgment. So I think there were three or four souls next to me, and all that we looked at was the decisions that I'd made, and they weren't interested in things such as achievements of building a business or doing something. That they were interested in, did you see that you helped and gave $100 to that woman who didn't have food and she couldn't pay the groceries that was in front of you? Did you notice that human being? Where was your kindness? So it was very focused on not guiding me at all, but not judging me at all. There was zero judgment. So we then, I remember having a chat to one of the individuals and talking to them about, so what happens to people with mental health, that have got mental health issues. And she showed me a tower in the background. And she said, so somebody, for instance, if a soul is scarred during the period of being on Earth, because Earth is not the only place that there's life, but it's the most dense. It's a very dense frequency. So she explained, for example, when Joan of Arc came back, they had to take her into a hospital. And basically, you've just got people helping your soul come back together because you've been fragmented and you've been freaked out. So consciousness and I were walking, and as we were walking, everything, me and John, literally everything I understood. So past, present, future, there isn't a past, there isn't a future. Everything happens in parallel. Physics, calculus, mathematics, equations, science, how the pyramids were made. Everything was made so awesome. It was just, you just open your eyes. Because human beings that have lived on Earth prefer to have their own domiciles, so you can create a home for yourself if you want to. You imagine it, and then say you want a home, but it's got to have a lake, or it's got to have some sort of trees around it, and a waterfall. Then you manifest that. You don't sleep, you don't eat, but you can have meals. So the temperature is 75 degrees there, Fahrenheit. There isn't a sunrise or sunset, it's dusk. And the other thing that I noticed, that stood out for me was this absolute sense of safety and knowing that everything, all is well. And when you're on the other side, you have work to do, because that's just how your soul grows. So I was given the choice by Source. Do you want to stay here and continue with your work on the side, because there's lots to do, or do you want to go back? And underneath your breastbone, where your ribs come together, there is a silver string that connects you to Source, to the other side. And if that gets cut, you then die and you stay on the other side. Um, and I was so high on emotion, meaning that it's so safe, it's so exciting, it's so light, because I'm used to the density of earth and emotions and a heavy body and an and that I said, no, 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 there's work that I've got to do. And man alive, I came back into my body, and yes, it came back with a bang. And it's been the hardest 8 years of my life because I was given a gift. And the gift that I was given was that I can see the public persona people give out, um, but I hear instructions. So in auditory, I get told that person's going through this person's going through this. So very often I'll be at an event, like there was a AI convention that I went to, and Source said, I need you to go and speak to that lady and tell her the following. So, how it works is, and I always argue back, it's just my natural being. And I say, she's probably going to think I'm a dork. I don't want to go and tell her whatever. And Source says, remember free will. You don't have to. And then I just feel compelled to. So I introduce myself to the person and say, I know this is going to seem really strange, but this is a gift that I have. And then suddenly I don't know what I tell the person. So it literally goes right through me to the person. So this lady was a managing director of the company, and she burst into tears. And I apologized and then went to my booth. And then I thought, no, I can't leave her crying. And I came back to her and I said, it wasn't my message. It was Source's message to you. And she said, Trace, no, I didn't cry out of sadness. You were talking about things not even my husband would know. You shouldn't know it. You were talking about prayers that I'd been praying, begging that everything's going to be sorted out. You were talking about things that nobody knows except me. So to have that told back to me and to say that Source knows, hears, understands, is everywhere, and you are safe, just shocked me. And so, no, it's not a negative thing at all. So that's why when I go into a grocery shop, I like earphones. So that's my story.
Really interesting, and thank you for sharing that. I have a couple questions for you. So you had mentioned you remember being conceived.
Mm-hmm.
How does that memory work?
So what happens is the veil comes down when you come into this lifetime, and you choose whoever you are going to be brought in. So there's also a simulator, because what happens on the other side is um, some souls abort because it's too traumatic to be in the womb, so they abort, and that's what comes as a miscarriage or as uh, a baby that is born dead. So you get to simulate what it's going to be like. And I can't explain. People have asked me a number of times, how do you know? I just know. So it's in my body. I feel it. So my father was very strong gentleman with a loud voice and shouting. And my mother was this English little lady that is really tiny and but would handle all of the problems that came to the family. So she reverberated and I felt it. So I can't explain it to you. It's just energy can't be destroyed and created. And as the energy moved in, I felt it. But then I felt the body, because you're vibrating at a certain frequency. So her body is vibrating at a certain frequency, and I knew I was conceived. And I know she didn't know it for a while. And then throughout the pregnancy, I just had a consciousness. I think it's, and I know it's not because I've lived for 4 times on this planet. I've lived many, many, many lives. But it could just be that I'm used to the process. So I don't think I can give you a direct answer that's going to make you smile. So I think for people that are afraid of dying, what are they afraid of dying is my question. Are they afraid of the experience? Are they afraid that there's a nothingness? Do they subscribe to heaven and hell? This is hell. My opinion, life on earth is hell. because you've got to consistently reinvent, recreate, and nothing is constant. So the fear is something that is also taught, especially in religious doctrines, when they come up and they say, you're going to go to hell if you don't do the following. In South Africa, we've got a lot of churches, and people believe in heaven and hell, and good luck to you. You're going to stay there forever. And that's actually, I don't subscribe to that, because that's not the truth.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to the hell thing either. It's just so ridiculous. I'm sorry. With a place where we're actually from, like where our home is, consists of one thing only, and that's love. So where is there room for hell? It just
Thank
doesn't make
you.
any sense, you know?
Well,
But
what's interesting is, remember I said I killed my wife in my third life?
mhm,
I actually met up with a woman in this lifetime, and I was doing an interview with her for a job, and then suddenly it came out of my mouth, and I said, "I killed you in a previous life." And she put down a cup of coffee and she said, "You asshole, you did kill me." So I don't know why she was crossing my path, but
mhm.
be it closure or be it just the universe having a jolly, but it was really weird because both of us remembered it clearly and what was used, and it was so divine.
That
That's
is
why
amazing. Yeah.
that is amazing. And
Wow.
what I found is it's really important in this lifetime, because Earth is so dense, and because we've got a community of spirits and we're looking for light. You've got to keep your vibration on the love and above. I don't know if you've seen the consciousness scale, but apathy is like 50, and anger is 240. But if you can at least get to love, and it doesn't have to be romantic love, it's just love. Can you get to a point of love and appreciation and gratitude? You'll be a very different soul in this, because your soul came to learn and your soul came to teach. So you've got to know when you learn, and you've got to know when you've got to teach. And I consistently get woken up at different times where my guides show me times, and then I Google what's the spiritual meaning of this time, and it gives me an insight. And there's always a consistency around when there's been a transition. I've known this year that there's going to be a transition way, way, way before it happened. The supernatural is all around us. If you want to call it supernatural, or if you want to call it consciousness, we are all united. The thing that is funny for me is that we spend the limited time that we have on Earth having battles and having wars and just fighting with each other, and that's low level energy, and it goes fast, and it stops creativity. Love is exactly what you said. It's love that we need to operate from, because that's the birthplace for creativity. It's the birthplace for finding new ideas, engaging with other people.
Why do you think it is that some people cross over like right away, like you did, right? You didn't see any light or tunnel or anything, and others
Yeah.
do see that, and others just, I mean, either you see the tunnel, the light. Some people describe a
Mhm.
very warm, cozy black space, which they call the void. And then there's like what you described, where
Yeah.
you just sort of you left and went straight over. Do you think there's a reason why some do and some
Mhm.
don't?
There is, and the void is a place where you're in a holding pattern. So, say for instance, if you've committed suicide, you don't immediately go over, you go into a dark space, because your vibration is not on the vibrational frequency of source in any form, although we are all connected across all time and space, because time and space doesn't exist over there. I think it's the fear, flight, and uh, what's the third one? Freeze. Um, they freeze. If they die too suddenly, they freeze. Or if they just don't want to leave the other side and they don't trust the other side, they want to stay with the familiar. The thing is that they are moving themselves away from source, which means they're moving away from love. So 200 years is a long time to engage with somebody that's been floating around. But in her time, it's, could have been yesterday, because she relives the trauma over and over and over in her head. And I think that's what people do, is they you come to a decision about what you think life and death is about. And if you don't have a purpose and if you don't have a reason for being, then you'll find a reason to stay. So there's just generally, yeah, I think it's up to the soul. Because if, if they're still in their form, and that's the interesting thing, my form dissipated when I crossed over. I wasn't in this body because we don't have bodies. So I dissipated. And it's interesting for me when people talk about NDE and I saw my father and I saw the people that I loved. If that is what your soul needs to welcome you home, then Source will allow that to come forward. In my case, I really trusted Source. So I didn't need to see people I knew that have passed over or have a body. I was just really super uber excited about being free. One of my best friends, he and I were talking, and we agreed you come down in two groups, groups of families and groups of souls at the same time, in the same time. We've each got different life paths and we've got different areas, but we tend to meet up with those people that resonate on our frequency.